Yes, I didn't see him. What are you looking so sad about, Jeff?
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm really insulted. I mean, that's not right, what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I mean, I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talking. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talking about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Clay, one time during my career, I was on a Bomber of the Month tour.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
With the tour.
What's happening, my people? It's Cat Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Box Historian bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Miss Cass, Trump is in the building. Salute, Trump. Salute to everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cass Sports, the Box Historian. Today, remembering Ricky Hitman Hatton. Have the family today. It's still early in this big week of Boxing History Tuesday. We're going to remember Ricky Hatton today. Passed away over the weekend, 46 years young. Very popular British boxer. They traveled by the tens of thousands behind the Hitman. They come to Vegas. It's more British people than Americans in the house. So we're going to pay our respects to the Hitman and his career today. But how's everybody? Everybody's still buzzing about what happened this weekend. Bud Crawford is now the second fighter to be undisputed in 3 weight classes in the 4-belt era. Of course, Clarissa Shields was first. Here today, remembering Ricky Hatton. Got a lot to get to, so let's get into it. Our fight of the day is going to be a little different today, but let's get to that. But salute Mike Grimm. Mike Grimm is in the building. Good afternoon, Mike. Always good to see you. Let's get to our fight of the day for today. So without further ado, today's fight of the day. Okay, for the fight of the day today, we're going to do a little differently. We're going to look at the top 12 greatest wins in Roberto Duran's career. That's right, the Hands of Stone. We're going to look at his top 12 greatest wins for the Hands of Stone today, okay? Briefly look at 12 of his greatest wins. Now, it seems like we had just finished celebrating the 40th anniversary of the first great Duran versus Leonard battle when the awful news came that the man they call Manos de Piedra, arguably the greatest living boxer on the planet, and a man universally adored by fight fans, had tested positive for the great scourge of 2020, COVID-19. Prayers and well wishes came from all corners of the boxing world, until the news surfaced that the eminent four-time champion was out of danger. And a video showed him departing a hospital in Panama City to convalesce at home. Thankfully, he made a full recovery. It's another great victory for a living legend. One just as significant, if not more so, as the memorable wins cataloged here today. Now, some argue that Mr. Hands of Stone is the greatest lightweight of all time. Others contend he should be remembered as much or more for his performances at welterweight and middleweight. Either way, the man is, pound for pound, one of the best to ever step through the ropes. And so today we're going to recall the 12 triumphs that speak directly to the greatness of Roberto Duran. Okay, we're going to go from 12 down to 1. 12 of Roberto Duran's greatest fights, okay? Number 12 was the 8th round TKO over Hector Thompson, June 12th, 1973. Now, this fight was one of 8 fights on the year for Duran in 1973, one of 8. The win over Thompson was the second of 12 total defenses of the WBA lightweight title, but also an emphatic answer to criticism Roberto had received following the first loss of his career several months earlier to Esteban de Jesus. Now, Thompson was a Commonwealth and Australian champion at 140 pounds and tough as nails. But the fight was decided by a combination of Duran's vicious instincts and trainer Ray Arcel's fine-tuning. Constant jabbing was followed by angry hooks and right hands that finally felled Thompson in the 8th round in front of 15,000 in Panama City. Stated Thompson later, "I never had a tougher rival." Okay? Number 11. 10th round TKO over Guts Isumatsu, September 8th, 1973. Isumatsu, who had several pseudonyms, had won 6 fights in a row for the first time in his career prior to facing Duran. Isumatsu, then often known as Suzuki, was popular as a colorful character despite spotty in-ring performances. He had already visited Panama in a losing title bid against Ismael Laguna in 1970 and was determined to make good this time. But Duran was out to prove a point, again making his jab the center of his offense and showing off world-class countering ability and excellent defense, blending the two almost seamlessly. 5 knockdowns in 2 rounds convinced the ref it was time to end the slaughter. Isamatsu would go on to capture the WBC lightweight belt the following year, defending it 5 times before retiring and becoming a successful actor and comedian. Okay? 12 of Roberto Duran's greatest fights today. Start the show off. Number 10 was a 15-round decision over Edwin Viruet, September 17th, 1977. The rivalry between Duran and the Viruet brothers was not on the same level of intensity as at least 2 other personal grudges Roberto held as a pro, but the ill feelings were real nonetheless. Edwin, the older of the 2 brothers, was a former New York Golden Gloves champion who had broken Duran's 1-year 8-fight stoppage streak in 1975 by clowning his way through a non-title fight in Viruet's backyard. A slightly unpopular decision, plus Viruet's claims of a fix, led to a rematch for Duran's title. This time, Duran was more aggressive, trapping Viruet on the ropes and in the corners, ignoring the moments when the slick Puerto Rican made him miss wildly and leaving absolutely no doubt who was the superior fighter, even in his first title fight, to go the full distance. Okay. Number 9 was a 14th round knockout of Ray Lampkin, March 2nd, 1975. Nat Lobet, then editor of the Ring magazine, set up the Lampkin win. Duran proved he is a lightweight to not only be reckoned with, but also to be considered when in future years the barflies start the argument who was the best lightweight who ever lived. This statement speaks not so much to Lampkin's class as it does to Duran's performance. Indeed, Duran looked like a killer that night and nearly was one officially. Lightning Lampkin was a front runner who seemed to do well early in fights before fading down the stretch, and his challenge of Duran was no exception. Through the first several rounds, Lampkin hung tough, even winning some exchanges here and there. But Duran's trademark constant pressure broke Lampkin down before Roberto leveled him with a vicious left hook. Lampkin would be sent immediately to the hospital, where he stayed 5 days. And Duran would famously say for the television interviews after the fight, "Today, I sent him to the hospital. Next time, I will put him in the morgue, the hands of stone. I'll put him in the morgue next time." Okay, number 8. Number 8. 4th round TKO over Jose Pepino Cuevas, January 29th, 1983. In Cuevas, Mexico had a welterweight champion whose left hook terrorized the chunk of the division over the last half of the 1970s. His only losses in the 7 years leading up to the Duran fight were a shocker to Roger Stafford and a knockout loss to Thomas Hearns that was quite frankly understandable. The Stafford loss was voted upset of the year for 1981 by the Ring magazine. And coincidentally, Duran's loss to Kirkland Lane took the award in 1982, the next year. When Duran and Cuevas were paired, Both had seen better days and were thought to be all but shot. Cuevas was warned, sure, but Duran probed at what tatters there were with a quick jab, outspeeding Cuevas before hammering him backwards into a corner in round 4, scoring a knockdown. A wobbly Pepino was greeted with an extended assault on the ropes and went down again, barely making it to his feet before his corner stopped the fight. Excuse me. Okay, working our way through Roberto Duran, top 12 wins of all time. Number 7. 12th round TKO over Esteban de Jesus. This was their third fight, the rubber match between him and Esteban. Yeah, this was the third fight in the series. Esteban de Jesus. Okay. January 21st, 1978. Now, de Jesus provided a more lively nemesis than the Vivarette brothers, carrying more respectable punching power and a huge legitimate win over Duran in 1972. De Jesus was slippery as well as similarly Puerto Rican and really disliked Duran. He had bounced back from defeats to Duran and Antonio Cervantes to win the WBC lightweight title from Ishimatsu in 1976. For Duran, then the WBA champion, this rubber match was about supremacy, and he seized it, though in an unexpected way, boxing de Jesus instead of attacking relentlessly. A right hand in round 12 left de Jesus crawling to the ropes so he could pull himself to his feet, and Duran mercilessly battered him for the stoppage win moments later. Okay, number 6. 10th round decision over Carlos Palomino, June 22nd, 1979. A Mexican based out of Los Angeles, California, Palomino had claimed the WBC welterweight title from John Stracey in London, then made 7 defenses before running into defensive genius Wilfred Benitez in 1979. Duran had just officially exited the lightweight division, citing difficulty making 135 pounds, and ex-champion Palomino was to be his first serious challenge at welterweight. Some thought this a stiff challenge, but Duran was particularly sharp that night, outworking Palomino on the inside and fading him out of position before punishing him on the outside. In the 6th round, a sneak right hand behind a jab cracked Palomino to the canvas. He got up to stave off the attack in the 7th round, but dropped just about every other round, absorbing far more punishment in 10 rounds with Roberto as he did in 15 with Benitez. Number 5, working our way down to 1. Number 5 was a 13th round TKO over Ken Buchanan. What's up, B3? Yeah, we're gonna pay our respects to Ricky Hitman Hatton today, but the fight of the day, we're looking at the top 12 wins for Roberto Duran. B3, let's salute B3 picks in the building. And everybody in here is probably subscribed to B3, but if you're not, subscribe to B3 picks. STN, Sports Talk Network. Now, number 5 for Duran was a 13th round TKO over Ken Buchanan. This was June 26, 1972. Now, one of Scotland's finest ever fighters, Buchanan ditched his longtime manager, Eddie Thomas, prior to attempting his 3rd defense of his lightweight title against Duran. But taking on legendary trainer and manager Gil Clancy wasn't enough to halt the progress of the Panamanian madman. Early in round 1, Duran scored with a right hand that sent Buchanan down, and ever after the challenger kept grinding away, round after round, with his fists, elbows, forearm, head, whatever else he could put to use. And the referee never reined him in, so that's Roberto Duran. And he getting away with it. Roberto going to keep on. He was using everything. Now, at the end of round 13, the two continued to throw punches after the bell had sounded, with Duran cracking Buchanan very low, rendering him unable to continue. A replay clearly showed the punch was well below the belt, but Roberto was awarded the win and the title, albeit controversially. Despite the injustice, Duran demonstrated a mean streak that complemented his blossoming skill set. He was way ahead on the cards anyway, you know. It wasn't a legal blow, but he was still well ahead on the cards. Buchanan needed a knockout by that point. It was 15 rounds, and Duran was winning by like 5 or 6 rounds in the 13th with 2 rounds to go. So, yeah. But it was still an illegal blow. But the referee should have called it. Number 4 was the 8th round TKO over Davey Moore, June 16th, 1983. He savaged Davey Moore. Whew, that was bad. Now, the ease with which Duran manhandled the WBA junior middleweight champion surprised almost everyone, even Duran himself. A severe mugging started with a thumb to the right eye in the opening round. That's Roberto Duran. Now, those thumbs were coming from everywhere, said Davey Moore after the fight. But even Moore and his manager, Leon Washington, had to admit that Duran's blend of speed, strength, and punching power just wasn't anticipated, and the smaller man was able to do as he pleased on the inside, at times redefining the term illegal tactics. Again, that's Roberto Duran, hands of stone. Now, despite Moore being from New York, the sellout crowd was there to see Duran redeem himself, and they cheered on the challenger as he made the vicious headshot with severe body attack. He was still trying to redeem himself from the no march situation around this time, you know. Now, in round 7, Duran sent Moore to the canvas with the right hand, and in round 8, he gave Moore an evil beating before the fight was finally stopped. Roberto became just the 7th man in boxing history to win a world title in 3 divisions, while Moore was never the same after this defeat. Yeah, Davey Moore was never the same after that. After that Duran beating. 3 more fights. Then we're going to get to the Hitman Hatton. Number 3 was the 11th round knockout over Esteban de Jesus, March 16th, 1974. This was the second fight between the two in their 3-fight series. Now, since his decision loss to De Jesus in November 1972, Roberto had rebounded with 10 straight wins, including defenses against Thompson and Samatsu. Duran's first pro loss may have been a non-title affair, but there was lingering doubt as to his ability to handle adversity after he was decked in round 1, that first meeting with the Puerto Rican. An average fighter would have been overcome with painful deja vu after being sent down again in the opening round by a left hook in this fight, same punch. But Duran got up and by round's end was pushing De Jesus back. The champion said after the fight, "I never saw De Jesus' jab, but he hit me on the chin hard. Not hard enough. De Jesus was picked apart over the next 10 rounds, going down in round 7. A hellish body assault weakened De Jesus, and in round 11, a combination punctuated by a thudding right hand got Duran his revenge. Yeah, his 2 biggest wins now. Number 2. Yeah, this was a big one here. And this was actually an upset. Nobody expected this. 12th round decision over Iran Barkley, February 24th, 1989. Now, retiring after back-to-back defeats to Marvin Hagler and Hearns, Duran came back only to temporarily stay out once more when he lost a close 10-round decision to Robbie Sims, Marvin Hagler's half-brother, right? Now a middleweight, even if only a soft shell of one, Duran put some wins together and got a crack at Barkley's WBC belt. It made no sense. Barkley was a huge middleweight who had scored an eye-popping upset of Thomas Hearns, the same Motor City Cobra who had stopped Durant in 2 rounds 5 years earlier. Incredibly, Durant put together another brilliant performance, wobbling Barkley in the very first round. All bets were off after that, and a gruesome clinic of body punching ensued. The climax came in round 11 when Durant landed a 5-punch combination that froze and dropped Barkley, sealing a close win, which made Durant the first Latino 4-division champ, and his best win, of course. What else? The Sugar Ray Leonard. The first fight with Leonard was a 15-round unanimous decision over Sugar Ray Leonard, June 20th, 1980, Roberto Duran's best win. Now, on paper, there aren't going to be a whole heap of wins better than this one in the entire history of boxing. Leonard, an undefeated Olympic gold medalist and media darling, was a 9-5 favorite coming in, and the larger, younger, flashier fighter. Palomino was the extent of Durant's experience at welterweight as far as world-class opponents went, while Leonard had poked holes in the division already and displaced Benitez, who had been undefeated at the time. Okay? Now, in truth, Leonard and Durant both upped their games that night. Rocked in round 2, Sugar Ray was forced to go defensive early, then had to make up points and time in the middle rounds by playing Durant's game. Leonard played this surprisingly well at times, but Durant's inside milling was bruising, and it made the difference in an otherwise close battle. After following in the footsteps of all-time greats Henry Armstrong and Barney Ross, Durant remarked that Leonard was pretty good, but he had to be because he was fighting me. Okay, there you have it. The fight of the day was Roberto Duran's 12 best wins. And of course, number 1 was Sugar Ray Leonard. And salute Al Booger. How are you today? Okay, now we are going to remembering Ricky the Hitman Hatton. Okay, one of the most popular British fighters ever. I mean, they travel with him. They come to Vegas. It'd be more British fans than Americans out there. They came across that pond with the Hitman. So remembering Ricky the Hitman Hatton, okay? So let's do this first. Yeah, he just passed away this weekend. I think it was Saturday. They said a neighbor found him dead, and I still couldn't find what the cause was, but the police said they suspected no foul play. So, but before we start, let's take a moment of silence to honor the Hitman. Okay, salute Bruce Gass. How are you today? We just gonna take a look at the life and career of the Hitman to honor another one of our fallen warriors in this great sport we love. Okay, we're just gonna touch on his life and stuff briefly, and then we're gonna look at about 10 of his fights, little background, what happened in the fight, a little aftermath, that's all. You know, it's like a Friday show, but you know, how we do these little remembrance things. Today, the Hitman, Ricky Hatton. Yeah. Okay, let's get started. The life and career of Ricky Hitman Hatton. Come on. Okay, here we go. Okay, now Richard John Hatton, right? He was a British professional boxer. He competed between 1997 and 2012. and later worked as a boxing promoter and trainer. Now, during his boxing career, he held multiple world championships in the junior welterweight division and one at welterweight. In 2005, he was named Fighter of the Year by the Ring Magazine, the Boxing Writers Association of America, and ESPN. Did get a Fighter of the Year award. Now, the Hitman, like I said, he fought in two weight classes, junior welterweight and welterweight. Now, he had a number of nicknames. He was also known as the Hitman, the Manchester Mexican, the Pride of Hyde, Ricky Hatton, and the People's Champion. Most commonly known nickname was the Hitman, though, right? And he was, like I said, two weight divisions, junior welterweight and welterweight. Was a champion at both of them. He was 5'6" tall, had a reach of 65 inches, fought in the orthodox stance, had a total of 48 fights during his pro career. He won 45, just 3 losses, and 32 by knockout for the Hitman. Okay, not bad. Not bad at all. Ricky Hitman Hatton. Okay. In 2000, Hatton won the British junior welterweight title, followed by the WBU, World Boxing Union title the following year. He made a record 15 successful defenses of the latter WBU title from 2001 to 2004. He reached the pinnacle of his career in 2005 by defeating Kostya Tszyu for the IBF, ring, and lineal titles. This was followed up later that year with a win over Carlos Massa to claim the WBA title, thereby becoming a unified junior welterweight world champion. Making his welterweight debut in 2006, Hatton won a tough fight against WBA champion Luis Collazo to win a world title in his second weight class. Then a return to junior welterweight in 2007, so him winning the vacant IBF title for a second time, as well as the International Boxing Organization IBO title. In the same year, Hatton had his first career defeat against Floyd Mayweather Jr. in an attempt to win the WBC ring and lineal welterweight titles. Now, this defeat took a severe toll on Hatton's well-being, as did a second defeat in 2009 when he lost his IBO, ring, and lineal lightweight titles to Manny Pacquiao. Now, after Hatton's career was put on a long hiatus, rumors of a comeback continued to circulate in the media over the next several years. And in 2011, Hatton announced his retirement from the sport. But in 2012, more than 3 years after his last fight, he confirmed his comeback. Now, lost to Vyacheslav Senchenko in his first fight back prompted Hatton to immediately announce his final retirement. Now, he remained retired for 13 years before announcing a comeback in July 2025. He was actually training for a comeback when he passed away this weekend. Now, Hatton died before he could make his ring return. Hatton has been lauded as one of the most beloved and popular British boxers of all time, with a raucous fan base that traveled in the tens of thousands across the Atlantic to support him. He was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame as part of the class of 2024. Yeah, just went in last year. The Hitman did. Yep, but he's in. Early life. There's a young Hitman on the right. Let's take a look at the Hitman's early life. What's up, BVO? Sports TV from the STN Sports Talk Network. BVO. Oh, shoot. I just erased my chat. My elbow hit it. Let me get that chat back. See what y'all talking about. Yeah. Anti-Trump says, are you really this? With your people? None of your business, anti-Trump. What difference do it make? Why? But salute BBO and with Bruce Gas, Cannabis Education. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, anti-Trump. What difference do it make where I'm reading it from? Yeah. But let me continue. Okay. Early life. Read along with me. Early life. Okay. Richard John Hatton was born on October 6, 1978 in Stockport, Greater Manchester. He grew up in a pub on the Hattersley Council Estate in Hyde, Tameside. He first trained at the Sale West ABC Racecourse Estate. He was educated at Hattersley High School. His grandfather and his father both played football for Rockdale, and Hatton had a trial for the youth team. Now, football over there in Great Britain, they're talking about soccer, okay? You're not talking about like NFL type football, soccer, right? Now, Hatton, at the same time, he found a local boxing club in Hyde to train at. His interest music was the Manchester City Club song, Blue Moon, as performed by the band Super. Age 14, Hatton was taken by his uncles, Jed and Paul, to Manchester United's Old Trafford Stadium to watch the second fight between Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank. On leaving school, he joined the family carpet business, but after he cut 4 of his fingers with a Stanley knife, his father made him a salesman to prevent him from losing his fingers. Yeah. Dad said, no, we're going to make you a salesman, but you're going to cut your whole damn hand off. D1 from the Angry White Men podcast. What's up, D1? How are you today? D1 and William Old School around Fridays, 10 p.m. Okay, let's salute D1. We take the honoring the life of the Hitman, Ricky the Hitman Hatton today. He did take that. He said Thomas Hearns was one of his idols too. I think he said Thomas Hearns and Roberto the Red was his main idols. Yeah, couldn't very well say Ricky the Hands of Stone Hatton, Ricky Hitman Hatton. But let's look at his amateur career, okay, for the Hitman. Amateur career. Now, he had a short amateur career in which he won 7 British titles and represented his country at the 1996 Amateur International Boxing Association Youth World Boxing Championships, right? His elimination in the semifinals caused controversy. 4 to 5 judges awarded the contest to Hatton, but under the scoring rules, Hatton was defeated as the 5th judge gave the match to Hatton's opponent by 16 points. Those are some crazy rules. Because the one judge gave it to his opponent by 16 points, that overrides the other 4 judges that gave it to Hatton. Wow. And guess what? The judge was later found to have accepted a bribe. And disillusioned with the amateur governing bodies, Hatton turned professional at age 18. He was based at Billy the Preacher Graham's gym in Moss Side, where fellow boxers included Carl Thompson and Michael Gomez. So he turned pro as a junior welterweight. He only fought in 2 classes, junior welterweight and welterweight, but he did go up and down a number of times. Yeah. So started his career as a junior welterweight, his early career. Now, he made his pro debut on September 11th, 1997 against Colin McAuley. That was at Kingsway Leisure Center. Now, Hatton won by a TKO in the very first round. Then his second fight was at Madison Square Garden, right, in New York. I was on the undercard of Nassim Hamed versus Kevin Kelly. And soon, he was fighting on the undercards of fights involving major British boxers like the 2 world cruiserweight title fights between Carl Thompson and Chris Eubank in 1998. He was on both of those undercards. In 1999, the British Boxing Writers Club named Hatton their Young Boxer of the Year. His first international title came in May of 1999 when he defeated Dylan Carew for the WBO Intercontinental Junior Welterweight title. His next 4 fights after gaining the WBO International belt were all won within 4 rounds. He then won the WBA Intercontinental title. Already had the WBO, he won the WBA Intercontinental, following a unification fight against Giuseppe Laurie. The following month, he fought John Thaxton for the vacant British title. Now, despite sustaining a cut over his left eye in the first round, Hatton continued for the full 12 rounds and won on points. The first time in his career that he had been taken past 6 rounds. As the cut was his 4th above the same eye, he had plastic surgery on his eyebrow that November, with a view to a world title shot in the making coming up this following spring. Now, he claimed the vacant WBU title in March 2001, having sent opponent Tony Pep to the canvas 3 times in the process, okay? So then it was his first big fight. It was a big one too. Kostya Tszyu. Hatton versus Tszyu. Yeah, that was a big one. And he beat Tszyu. That was considered a huge upset at that time, yeah. Hatton versus Tszyu. June 5th, 2005, okay? He defeated IBF and Ring Magazine champion Kostya Tszyu. And at that time, Tszyu was widely regarded as one of the top pound-for-pound boxers in the world. And he beat Tszyu by a TKO after Tszyu failed to answer the bell for the 12th round. So he not only beat, he stopped one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world in his first really big step-up fight. And Hatton was a heavy underdog for this fight. And the winner announced his entry to the upper echelons of the world boxing scene. And prior to the fight with Tszyu, the majority of boxing critics had given Hatton little or no chance of winning. And this win was regarded as one of the best victories by an English boxer in the past 20 years. Okay? So then he went for a unification fight after the Tszyu fight. WBA Junior Welterweight Unification. When he defeated Carlos Massa in the 9th round of a unification fight in December, Hatton was named the 2005 Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year. That was the same year he beat Tszyu, then he beat Massa in the unification. So he got the big one, Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year. That's the original one. That's still the big one. Now, Hatton relinquishes the IBF title on March 29th, 2006, after refusing to fulfill a mandatory defense against #1 contender, Naufel Ben Rabah, because he intended to move up to the welterweight division. And at that time, he signed a 3-fight contract with Dennis Hobson's Fight Academy after splitting from longtime promoter Frank Warren. That's who he started his career with, Frank Warren. But at that time, he split with Frank. Okay? So now, we're just looking at going through his resume. Not every fight, but it's like 10 of his biggest fights, okay? So then, he moved up to welterweight, okay? First fight at welterweight. Defying Arnie One in the building. And Mike Massey. So the heavyweights coming in now. Well, a whole bunch of heavyweights, so everybody is in here heavyweight. What am I talking about? Defying Arnie One, Mike Massey. We're gonna have to get some think time too, because I got some people that haven't got their take on the Canelo Bud situation. I know Defying Arnie One just dying to give his take, because he picked Bud all the way. Defying Arnie One had Bud all the way. So did Mike Massey. Yeah, so did Mike Massey. Okay, so he moved up. He only fought in 2 weight classes, junior welterweight and welterweight, but he went up and down a number of times. So this is his first move up to welterweight, right? Against Collazo. I believe his name is Luis Collazo. Let's see. Yeah. Hatton moved up a division to meet American Luis Collazo. for the WBA welterweight title, which took place on May 13th, 2006. Okay? May 13th, 2006. Hatton won the WBA title from Collazo, but struggled. Now, he started well, knocking Collazo down in the very first few seconds of the first round, but it turned out to be one of the toughest fights of his career, with some boxing analysts claiming Collazo won the fight, although many thought Hatton had done enough early on to secure a victory, with the knockdown a pivotal point in the fight. So he had that fight, and then he went back down to junior welterweight, Juan Urango. There's him and Urango. Hatton versus Urango. So his first fight back at junior welterweight was against then IBF junior welterweight champion Juan Urango for his title and the vacant IBO title on January 20, 2007 in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, Hatton's promoter, Dennis Hobson, stated that the impetus for moving back down was to set up a fight with Jose Luis Castillo, a fighter who nearly beat Floyd Mayweather Jr. at lightweight in 2002. Yeah, so they was trying to get the Castillo fight. Okay, that was the reason they moved back down. Now, Hatton ended up winning a 12-round unanimous decision against Urango to recapture the IBF light junior welterweight title, a title he'd had before. He won all but one round on all three judges' scorecards. Castillo was on the undercard, the fight they was trying to set up. They had him on the same card, and Castillo also won, setting up their long-awaited fight. And the next was that fight, Hatton and Castillo. Was his next fight. Yeah, rest in peace, Rick Hatton. He fired on him one. Hatton versus Castillo. They had been waiting for this fight a long time. And remember, Castillo had come so close to beating Floyd. Remember? A lot of people thought he did. Now, Hatton was forced to relinquish his IBF title again. Remember, he gave it up to move up to welterweight, then he went back down to junior welterweight and got it back. So now, in order to fight Castillo, he's giving it up again. So he was forced to relinquish the IBF title again, February 10th, to be able to fight Castillo. Now, the fight was held on June 23rd, 2007 at the Thomas and Mack Center in Paradise, Nevada. Okay? In Paradise. In the fourth round, Hatton landed a perfect left hook to the liver, which put Castillo to the canvas. Yeah, got that liver shot on him. I remember that too, yeah. Put him down. Hatton later said that four of Castillo's ribs were broken with that one punch. Unable to stand up, Castillo was counted out for the first time in his career. Okay? Returned to welterweight. Told you he went up and down a few times. Only 42 classes, but he went up and down a few times. So now, okay, you found on anyone. Cool. Yeah, appreciate you. Glad you stopped by, though. Anyway, so he returned to welterweight. Floyd Mayweather Jr. Okay, that was his fight when he went back up with Floyd. Hatton agreed to terms on July 27th. For 2007 for December 8th, 2007 welterweight fight with Floyd Mayweather Jr., which was considered to be the biggest welterweight fight since the 1999 clash between Oscar De La Hoya and Tito Trinidad. The MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas was announced as the venue on August 17, 2007. The fight was agreed to less than 3 months after Mayweather had said he planned to retire following a win over Oscar De La Hoya. But he didn't retire. Well, he may have for a minute. Now, Hatton was able to bring the fight to Mayweather in the early round. In the first round, Hatton caught Mayweather with a left jab, which knocked Mayweather off balance. His constant pressure appeared to make Mayweather uncomfortable at first. In the third round, Mayweather landed a right hand that cut Hatton above the right eye. He had been cut. Remember, he had to get plastic surgery. He had been cut above that eye so much. In round 6, referee Joe Cortez took a point away from Hatton after he appeared to hit Mayweather on the back of the head, while Mayweather was rested between the ropes. However, the punch was revealed to have hit the ropes rather than Mayweather's head. But Hatton was warned for punching behind the head on numerous occasions before the deduction. Now, yeah, he did punch low a few times and was warned, but when the actual point was deducted, it wasn't an illegal. He punched behind the head. It was warned a few times, but when the actual point got deducted, it wasn't an illegal blow. Because remember, they showed it. It hit the rope. It didn't hit Floyd in the back of the head, so that was crazy. And then Hatton became infuriated at the referee's decision to deduct the point and turned his back on it. Hatton later said he was angered by the referee, which caused him to lose his calm and contributed to his downfall. No, that check hook was what contributed to his downfall. Now, Hatton was able to hold his own until round 8, when Mayweather began to adapt to Hatton and started counterattacking. Mayweather knocked Hatton down to the mat in round 10 with that check hook, remember? Now, Hatton got up, but Mayweather quickly resumed his attack, resulting in Joe Cortez putting a stop to the fight, and Hatton's corner threw in the towel. The official scorecards were 88-82 and 89-81 twice at the time of the stoppage, all in favor of Floyd. Okay, so now another return to junior welterweight. Told you he went up and down, up and down. Appreciate you, BBO. Yeah, I heard this morning too about the Man Act and Jack Johnson too, BBO. Yeah, that's a good idea too. Yeah, Hagler and how they froze him out. Yeah, okay, BBO, gotcha. Let me jot it down real quick. Yeah. And the Man Act, it was a good idea you gave him this morning on Crush Show too about Jack Johnson and the Man Act, BBO. Yeah, but appreciate you. But yeah, so after Floyd, he went back down to junior welterweight again and fought Juan Lezcano. Okay. On May 24th, 2008, Hatton beat Mexican Juan Lezcano by unanimous decision with scores of 120-110. 118-110 and 120-108, very wide. And this was in front of a home crowd of 55,000. That was a post-World War II record for a boxing match in Great Britain, 55,000. And this was at City of Manchester Stadium to retain the ring and IBO junior welterweight title. Now, Hatton did well when he boxed and controlled the ring. When he boxed and controlled the range, utilizing his jab and dominating a lot of the early exchanges. In round 8, he absorbed the left hook to the chin that wobbled him. In round 10, Hatton was hurt again by a left hook. Despite that, Hatton outworked Lezcano to win at least 10 of the rounds. Yep. And then Paulie. Yeah, he fought Paulie. Remember? Yeah. Hatton versus Paulie Malignaggi. Here's him and Paulie. The motion picture. Now, he fought Paulie Malignaggi at the MGM Grand Garden Arena on November 22nd, 2008. This was for Hatton's ring junior welterweight title. He was trained for the fight by Floyd Mayweather Sr., right? Yeah, he had Floyd for this fight. I think this was his first fight with Floyd Sr. too. Now, Hatton dominated for all of the fight and defeated Malignaggi by 11th round TKO when Malignaggi's trainer, Buddy McGirt, threw in the towel. 48 seconds into the round. Okay? Then he fought Manny. Hatton versus Pacquiao. Yeah, we winding down now. And yeah, his son was a boxer too. And we're gonna talk a little bit about his son's career too, Campbell. Now, Hatton fought Manny Pacquiao on May 2nd, 2009 at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. The fight was at junior welterweight, which was the 6th weight class Pacquiao had fought in at that time, right? And Hatton was still undefeated at junior welterweight. His only loss was to Floyd at welterweight, remember? So yeah, Hatton was still undefeated here, but not anymore after he fought Manning, right? Pacquiao defeated Hatton in the 2nd round by a knockout victory after knocking Hatton down twice in the 1st round, and then a final time in the 2nd round. Following the loss to Pacquiao, Hatton put his career on hiatus. After more than a year out of action, in a June 2010 interview, he seemed uninterested in coming to the ring again and coming back. He stated, "Boxing started out as a habit, and it ended up giving me some money and making me a little bit of a better person. But I don't think I will have a fight again. But you can never say never, as I have not announced officially that I won't be boxing. At the moment, I don't have any fire in the belly for a fight or to get myself to a gym." However, Hatton also added, "But it has been only 13 months and I am only 31, so never count me out." Hatton also voiced suspicion that Pacquiao may be using performance-enhancing drugs, PEDs. Hatton said he should have made the same blood testing demand as Floyd Mayweather Jr., whose fight against Pacquiao fell through in early 2010. However, the Nevada Athletic Commission cited a medical analysis which supported Pacquiao's decision to abstain from blood testing, similar to that demanded by Mayweather, stating that drawing blood close to a fight may cause hematomas, infection, or other injuries. Hatton also admitted that he underestimated Pacquiao and that it could be that he is just a great fighter who has improved. And Hatton was actually, like I said before, when he passed away this weekend, he was actually training for a fight at that time. Yup, he sure was. But he did come back. Okay, he did make a comeback at welterweight. Hatton versus Senchenko, September 14th, 2012. He confirmed he would return to pro boxing with a fight against an unnamed opponent, scheduled to take place in November of that year, 2012. Tickets for the comeback sold out in 2 days before the opponent or undercard were even announced. So that's all Hitman there. Tickets sold out before undercard or opponent was even announced. So Hitman, he could sell. Those British fans loved him. Tens of thousands traveled with him anywhere he went on the globe, okay? His opponent was later revealed to be Senchenko. I ain't saying that first name no more. Senchenko. Having reached the maximum weight of nearly 15 stone. And 15 stone, I think 1 stone is 10 pounds, right? So that's like 150. No, 1 stone is 14 pounds, right? I think. Yeah. So let me see if that's right. 15. Yeah. 210. I think 1 stone is 14 pounds, right? But god damn. That would make him 210. Having reached the maximum weight of nearly 15 stone, which is 210 pounds. In the months leading up to his comeback, Hatton underwent a significant weight transformation. He reduced his weight from 15 stone 6 pounds to 10 stone 7 pounds. Yeah, 1 pound, 1 stone is 14 pounds because 10 stone is 140 to reach the junior welterweight limit, right? So yeah, wow. So he was up to 210 pounds. Whew. But he got down to it. Now, Hatton started the fight against Senchenko, the stronger of the pair, but did not time his shots well. Senchenko used his superior reach-to-land jabs and gained the upper hand as the fight progressed. In the 9th round, a left hook to the body sent Hatton to the floor. Knocked down by the type of punch previously viewed as his own signature, Hatton was counted out by the referee. Yeah, he was susceptible to that left hook because remember a few fights back, he got knocked down twice by the left hook, remember? And he was counted out. It was the 3rd time Hatton had been dropped taking his overall record of 45 wins and 3 defeats. Floyd, Manny, and Sinchenko. He announced his final retirement from the ring immediately afterwards, saying, "I needed one more fight to see if I still had it. And I don't." At least he was honest. "I found out tonight it isn't there anymore." But final comeback. Like I said, this is the one he was doing when he passed away. Final comeback. On July 6, 2025, this very year, Hatton announced that he was coming out of retirement at the age of 46. He had an opponent too. That guy right there. I'll tell you his name in a minute. The fight was to take place Manny did it at 48, so Hitman said, "I'm 2 years younger than Manny." Now, the fight was to take place in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, on December 2nd, 2025, this December. And his opponent was also 46, Isa Al-Dar, right? He was 8 wins, 3 losses, 4 knockouts. Speaking on the comeback, Hatton said, "I'm very much looking forward to it myself. What you're trying to do there for boxing in Dubai is fantastic. Hopefully, this will be a spinoff for more events for you to have over there, and hopefully we can get the ball rolling with a bang." The fight was announced via virtual face-off as Hatton was unable to travel due to injury. Al-Dar, who was also the promoter, had not fought since 2021 when he was stopped by Mexican journeyman Pedro Delgado in the first round. Yep, but it didn't happen. He passed away. But yeah, like I say, he was actually training for a fight when that happened. Yep. Outside the ring. Now, Hatton was a passionate supporter of Manchester City and once had a trial at City for the youth team. That's the soccer. They call it football over there. His interest music was the club's song, Blue Moon, as performed by the band Supra. Now, regarding his nickname, Hatton said, "I've always been a fan of Tommy Hearns, and everybody associate that. That's where I got it from. But everybody's a Tommy Hearns fan." See, I got the nickname the first day I walked in the gym. I was 10 years old, and I put a pair of gloves on and started walloping the bag. And my amateur coach said, "Look at him. Look how evil he is. He's a little hitman." Hatton was sometimes referred to by boxing fans as Ricky Hatton because he was known to allow himself to weigh as much as 175 to 180 pounds when not in training for a fight. Since turning pro, Hatton opted to eat a full English breakfast before fights. His favorite place in Hyde was the Buddy Box in Montreal Road, where he was interviewed by Gabby Logan for Inside Sport and was known to drink Guinness on Thursday nights when he played darts for the New Inn. The experts used his ill-balanced diet, akin to Jake LaMotta's ballooning up between fights, to explain his poor performances in later fights and his tendency to tire towards the end of fights. Now, Hatton appeared on ITV's daytime show, Loose Woman, in August 2007, stating that the reason he put on weight between fights was because "I have a lot on my plate at the moment." Hatton appeared on the Friday Night with Jonathan Ross show in March 2007. When the host Ross placed some pads on his hand and gave Hatton gloves to hit them with, he knocked the pad clean off Ross's hand with a powerful left hook. Interviewed on ITV's Parkinson on October 13, 2007. At the beginning of the interview, Hatton handed Michael Parkinson a custom-made pair of boxing shorts with Mike and Parky written on them. The shorts had the Barnsley emblem on them and were colored red and blue, Barnsley Football Club's colors, because Parkinson was a Barnsley fan. While talking about Floyd Mayweather's arrogance, Hatton said, "If there's such a thing as reincarnation, Floyd will come back as himself." Hatton received the MBE for services to sport in the 2007 New Year honors. In 2008, he started hosting his own live chat show called Ricky Speaks on Nuts TV. His father, Ray Hatton, said, "We had a conversation with a third party asking whether if we were approached by the Mayweather team, would a possible rematch be on the cards? We hadn't added. Really? At the moment, we're looking at Manny Pacquiao. It's very nice for Ricky to still be in such a big league. Although negotiations stalled at some points, Hatton fought the #1 pound-for-pound fighter Manny Pacquiao on May 2nd, 2009. Hatton hosted the November 9th, 2009 edition of WWE Raw at the Sheffield Arena, defeating professional wrestler Chavo Guerrero Jr. in a fight. Okay. Yeah, family life for the Hitman. Family life for Ricky Hitman Hatton. Okay, family. As of 2008, Hatton's mother, Carol, still worked on a carpet stall on Glossop Market in the Peak District. His father, Ray, was his manager and manages Hatton's brother and fellow boxer, Matthew Hatton. Ricky Hatton and his girlfriend, Jennifer Dooley, lived in his house, the Heartbreak Hotel, named after his favorite artist, Elvis Presley, in Hyde. Hatton was estranged from his parents for several years due to a dispute about money. In his autobiography, War and Peace, My Story, Hatton said that his father punched him in the face during a confrontation in a car park in 2012. The family feud was healed in 2019. Okay. He has 3 children, including his son, who is also a boxer. Hatton had 3 children. Hatton's son, Campbell, born in 2001, was conceived after a short reconciliation with ex-girlfriend Claire. Hatton set up a trust fund to make sure his son was always provided for and saw him every day. He had 2 daughters with Dooley, Millie and Fern. Campbell pursued a career in professional boxing. During his boxing career, Campbell Hatton was trained by Ricky's brother, Matthew. However, during an interview in July 2025, Ricky Hatton confirmed his son's retirement from boxing. Yeah, and we're going to look at his last fight was in November 2024. We're going to take a look at Campbell's career in a minute. On September 12, 2010, the Sunday tabloid News of the World published a front-page story alleging Ricky Hatton had been a regular cocaine user, with pictures showing the boxer apparently using the drug. Now, Hatton was said to be devastated following the story. Okay, and charity. December 2013, he became the patron of Manchester-based Christian charity Barnabas that offers support to homeless and vulnerable people through its drop-in center. And his fans were classic. His fans. Hatton attracted many fans who were very vocal in their support during fights. The main chant was a modified version of the Christmas song, Winter Wonderland, with the lyrics changed to promote Hatton. Along with Floyd Mayweather, Hatton is referred by the American rapper GZA on the track Paper Plate off of his 5th studio album, Pro Tools. And finally, Hatton Promotions. He had a promotional company too. Yeah, Hatton Promotions. That's him and his son there. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Hatton Promotion. Hatton operated his own boxing promotions company, Hatton Promotions, which managed a number of fighters, including Anthony Upton, Sonny Upton, Paul Upton, Lucas Brown, Cameron Hammond, Damian Hooper, the Nat, Zakarianov, or something like that, Adam Etches, Matty Askin, Scott Jenkins, Sergey Rabchenko, and Ryan Burnett. On February 11, 2017, the Kiyano became the first fighter under Hatton Promotions, as well as trained by Hatton himself, to become world champion when he defeated Roshay Warren by split decision to win the WBA bantamweight title. And he also was a trainer. Okay? Also was a trainer. There's him and his son. Hatton was a boxing manager and trainer as well. He was the trainer of Nathan Gorman, who was the great nephew of the Welsh boxer, bare knuckle boxer, Bartley Gorman. He also trained Zanat, the Kiyano, and Irish champion, Paul Upton. Hatton was also the trainer of Tommy Fury, the younger brother of Tyson Fury, and was in the corner of Tyson for his fight against Deontay Wilder in 2018. On December 1st, 2023, Hatton guided Chloe Watson to a unanimous decision win over Justine Lalaman to claim the vacant European female flyweight title. Okay, and finally, death. On September 14th, 2025, Sunday, it was reported that Hatton had been found dead at his home in G Cross in Hyde. I think it was found by a neighbor. He was 46 years old. Greater Manchester police confirmed that his body was discovered following a call from a neighbor and stated that they were not treating his death as suspicious. Manager and promoter Frank Warren and several former world champions, including Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Manny Pacquiao, Amir Khan, and his idol Roberto Duran, paid tribute. On the afternoon of September 14th, Manchester City and Manchester United observed a moment of silence before they played their English Premier League game. With Hatton being a City supporter, Phil Foden dedicated their 3-0 win to him, saying that he had extra motivation going into the game, and the lads gave everything. There you have it, the life and career of Ricky the Hitman Hatton. Okay, yeah, I got something on Campbell. Okay, let's look at that. Campbell, his son, he retired. He retired. I think Ricky's, it's like July or something that Campbell retired, but there he is right there. His last fight was in November 2024. Okay, I don't even know what Campbell's record was, but I'll find it for you. Campbell Hatton. Yeah. He followed his father into the ring, but the apple fell a long ways away from the ring. I mean, the tree. You had to say the apple didn't fall far from the tree. This one fell far from, way away from the tree. Yeah, Campbell was not, Yeah, but how's everybody? We're going to talk about France this week for our country. Yep. Boxing in France. Yeah, let's take a quick look at Campbell's career. Ricky Hatton's son. Okay. Yeah. Campbell Hatton. There's Beyond the Ropes, Campbell Hatton. There's Campbell and his father, Ricky. Yeah, he didn't train his son, though, no. He was a trainer, but he didn't train Campbell. Okay. Now, Campbell Hatton turned pro in 2020 after a limited amateur career and limited success in the unpaid ranks. A national novice title and 2 regional titles were the highlights of his amateur run. Okay. Now, Hatton was 19 when he announced he had signed with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing. Big exposure, a big platform, but there was nowhere to hide. Hatton would have to learn his trade under the full glare of the harshness of public and media scrutiny. Fighting on Sky Sports and in the Zone wasn't ideal for his apprenticeship year. Being the son of a British icon always has benefits. It helps get you started, but it doesn't help you finish what you started, right? Without the fact, because Ricky can't get there to fight for him. Ricky got that name, get him started, but like you said, it doesn't help him finish. Without the family connection, Hearn wouldn't have come calling, but expectations were incredibly high. Comparisons with Ricky Hatton were a constant. A chip off the old block in some ways, but not in every way. Most crucially, not inside a boxing ring, okay? Not a chip off of the old block inside the ring. Campbell Hatton struggled to impress almost from the very beginning. After 3 wins against extremely low quality opposition, a 2-4 Spanish import, Sonny Martinez, was extremely unfortunate not to have been given the nod over Hatton after 6 hard rounds in September 2021 on the Anthony Joshua Odesanya Usyk undercard. The robbery cries followed the fight. They didn't look misplaced. Trust me, Hatton got away with one that night, but already there were doubts about just how far he could go. Brutal limitations in his style that didn't bode well for his future. But at age 20, Hatton was young. He was young enough to improve. But was he good enough? That was the question. He was young enough to improve, but was he good enough? That was the question. Was he good enough? And it turned out that he wasn't. Now the wins kept coming. Fleeting signs of improvement, albeit against low-grade opposition. Campbell got his resume to 14-0. The spots on the big cards had gotten the desired attention. But his moment of truth was coming. In March, Campbell was given sterner opposition. The once beaten Jimmy Joe Flint was the first real test for Campbell. The Central Area Super Lightweight title was up for grabs. I remember that. It seemed a good piece of matchmaking. A gradual increase in the standard of opposition. Flint was a little step up, but Campbell was still expected to win. But the trip to Sheffield ended in disaster for Campbell. Flint won a deserved decision over 10 good, hard, close rounds to take away Campbell's unbeaten record. An admittedly entertaining fight to watch, but those limitations were brutally exposed by Flint. In many ways, it had been coming. Campbell immediately made changes to his inner circle following his first professional reversal. His uncle, Matthew Hatton, was replaced by Ben Davison as his trainer. Hatton left his home comfort, hoping the change would bring him the rewards of sacrifice. You can make all the changes to your team you want to, but it doesn't change you. Okay? It doesn't change that skill level because skills pay the bills. Okay? That's what ultimately does it. Not changing your team. Now, a rematch with Flint was the obvious fight to make, although a softer return might have served him better. But Hatton rolled the dice again for his rematch against Flint in Manchester. But in another good fight, Hatton was again on the short end of a 10-round decision, right? The same old flaws resurfaced. A deeply worrying night for Campbell Hatton. So what are you going to do now? Get rid of this new team after one fight? Right? Now, Flint won both fights, right? You couldn't make a case for a Campbell victory in either fight. Campbell was competitive on each occasion. But for context, BoxRec had both fighters sitting outside of the top 20 domestically, right? And sadly, it doesn't look like Campbell will find the improvements he needs to go any higher in his career than the top 20s. Wow. Now, area level is no disgrace. But will Campbell Hatton be content if that indeed is his ceiling? Is that enough for an ambitious fighter who must have seen more for himself just a few years ago? But Campbell is unlikely to retire, at least in the short term. He's only 23, and the sport is in his blood. It might just be all he really knows. But the 2 fights with Flint told us where his level is, okay? He seems unlikely to surpass it. The post-fight words of Eddie Hearns indicated that if Hatton is to continue with his career, he will probably have to do it on the small ball circuit. That might be a benefit to Hatton. A couple of fights away from the bright lights might do him a world of good. Right? Steve Wood and his VIP promotions might be a good fit for him. Campbell Hatton was facing a somewhat uncertain future. Back-to-back defeats are never good for any fighter. Campbell especially will have found them sobering and humbling, as will any appearance on shows away from the matchroom bubble. Yep, and he retired. You know, his father confirmed it. He ended up retiring because he didn't see any future. You know, nobody saw a future for Campbell in the sport of boxing. And let's see, what was Campbell's final record? His last fight was in November of last year, by the way. Let's see what his box record is. I got something on another popular British boxer too, since we was paying tribute to Ricky Hatton. Henry Cooper. We're going to talk about Henry briefly. Okay, Campbell ended his, those were his only 2 losses though, but that was his only step up too, and he lost both of them, 14-2, no knockouts. 14-2, 5 knockouts. He was never stopped, but those 2 losses there really told everybody a lot about Campbell, and it wasn't good. But Henry Cooper, take a look at Henry. Another very popular British fighter. And we might get some link time if anybody's interested. But let's take a look at Henry Cooper real quick. Dropped Ali. The story goes there was some foul play in that. Is that droppage? Is that a word, droppage? When he dropped Ali? Some foul play in that droppage. I just made it a word. They said it was toward the end of the round, and Ali was very hurt. And when the bell rung, Angelo Dundee acted like it was something wrong with one of Ali's gloves and stopped the fight and sent somebody to the dressing room and got another glove and changed gloves to buy Ali time to recover because he was hurt by the knockdown from Henry. Yeah. And they said it was really nothing wrong with his glove. That was a ploy they used. Angelo pulled the old okie doke to buy Ali time. Old Henry hurt him. Yes, he did. Hurt Ali bad, man. Let me get this going. It's just about 3:30. We probably get some link time about 3:30. But I wanted to talk about Henry real quick. Henry Cooper. Another very popular, one of the most popular British boxers of all time. Henry was. Henry William Cooper. Him and Ali became close friends too. think Ali attended Henry's funeral. They did that thing for Ali. Remember, he had all those. It was like a reunion thing, and his elementary school teacher was there. It was like a thing where every it was a surprise to Ali, and a lot of people came out from his past, like some elementary school teachers, stuff like that. The police. Remember the story about the Ali? Somebody stole his bike, and the policeman told Ali to come to the gym and fight. That's how he came to be a boxer. Whatever. He ran into the policeman, told him somebody stole his bike, and all of that. He was there. Henry Cooper was there. So that was one of the highlights in Ali's life. He had been dropped before Henry Cooper now. Yeah, Joe Frazier wasn't the first one to drop. Joe Frazier was like the third, maybe the fourth one to drop Ali. Yeah. He had been dropped before. Henry wasn't the first one. Now, one of the most popular figures, there's Henry. There's Henry and Ali right there, as a matter of fact. Okay. One of the most popular figures in British sporting history. Henry Cooper was Amateur Boxing Association light heavyweight champion in 1952 at the age of just 17. Picked to compete for Great Britain in the Helsinki Olympics, Cooper was defeated in the opening contest by the eventual bronze medalist, Perov of the Soviet Union. After relinquishing his national amateur championship in 1953, he turned pro the next year. After a period where he lost as many fights as he won, Cooper's career flourished from the late 50s, and he won both British and British Empire heavyweight titles. In the summer of 1963, he was matched with the unbeaten 1960 Olympic light heavyweight champion, Cassius Clay. Clay had commented before the fight that Henry Cooper is nothing to me. If this bum goes over 5 rounds, I won't return to the United States for 30 days. And that's the final, right? I'm not even worried about this big bum Cooper. He will only be a warm-up until I get to that big ugly bear, Sonny Liston. That's what Ali said going into the Liston. Well, Clay said going into the Cooper fight. Cooper's strongest weapon was his left hook. The press had labeled it Enery's hammer, right? And at the end of round 4, it landed squarely on Clay's chin, and the American fell to the canvas. Unfortunately for Cooper, this came in the final seconds of the round, and by the start of the next round, Clay had recovered. The referee stopped the contest in the 5th round when Cooper's facial cuts became too bad to continue. Yeah, that's when all that other stuff happened in between. The knockout came at the end of the round when he knocked Clay down, and that's when all that nonsense happened with Angelo sent to the dressing room for a glove and all that to give Ali time, because if he hadn't been at the end of the round, he might have been in trouble. He had a chin, but that left hook of Henry Cooper's. So Joe Frazier's left hook wasn't the first left hook that dropped him. Okay? So Cooper rebounded to win the European title, and 3 years after the initial contest, he would step into the ring to face Clay again, now under his new name of Muhammad Ali. And this time it was for the world title. The second meeting ended as the first did, with Cooper's face a bloody mess. He always cut easily. Although he would never again fight for a world title, Cooper defended his British Commonwealth, and European titles until 1971, when he lost them all in his last pro fight. He held the British and British Empire Commonwealth titles for 12 years, between 1959 and 1971, and the European title on 3 separate occasions in the 60s and early 70s. A small heavyweight, Cooper boxed before the introduction of the cruiserweight division and struggled against the top fighters in his division, and his propensity to cut easily also hampered his career. Yeah, he cut real easy. On his retirement, he became a popular television personality, appearing on the BBC quiz show, A Question of Sport, and also in adverts for aftershave. One of only 3 sportsmen to have won the BBC Sports Personality of the Year award twice, 1967 and 1970. In 2000, Cooper became the first boxer to be awarded a knighthood. Henry Cooper, wow. First boxer to be awarded a knighthood. Okay, I'm gonna put the link in anyway if anybody's interested. We're gonna go till 4 o'clock. And yeah. Here it is. You heard Henry Cooper? I didn't know that. First boxer to be awarded a knighthood. Wow. That's a bit of trivia. Who was the first boxer to be awarded a knighthood? Anybody know? I think it was Henry Cooper. What we got this weekend? Everybody was so focused on Button Canelo. Nobody was even paying attention to this weekend. But yeah, we still got some big action coming up this year. We still got that big Benavidez yard card. That's full of main events. That's the one with Devin and Norman, right? Beterbiev is on it. Beterbiev like 4 or 5 fights down the card. This man was just a main event for Undisputed twice. Now he like 4 or 5 fights down the card. It's got to be a great card. Bam on there. Yep. Bam Rodriguez is on it. That's a great card. That's in November though. So we got a ways to go for that one. Got a ways to go. This weekend, I'm gonna check in a minute, see what we got going on this weekend. Yeah, I'm gonna check in 1 minute. Bud Crawford. Everybody is talking, still a buzz with that. Somebody said Monster was moving up to 126, but Nakatani just got to 122. Damn, very interesting. Wow. So I guess I don't know. I thought we're sure we get that in 26, but man, Nakatani just got to 22. So I don't know. We'll just have to see on that one. Let's see what's going on in the world of boxing this weekend. See what the schedule talking about. Just Do Boxing is coming up at 4. I thought Ricky Hatton was going to run a little bit longer, but no. We got through it. Boxing schedule. This will be the 20th. September 20th. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. '18th. When is the 18th? Thursday? I'm glad we got some Thursday boxing this week. It's boxing every day somewhere. Friday. Okay, Oscar Collazo, Jason Vason. What a name, Jason Vason. Gabriela Fondora. All right. Sarah Bailey. Got some nice women's fights. No big names this weekend. Oh, Stanionis next weekend. I was just thinking about Stanionis this morning. He getting back in the ring for his first fight after Boots next weekend. Still a big name at welterweight, Stanionis. Fighting Jabalani or Kent. Okay, he matches Stanionis. Back in action next weekend. Yeah, BBO gave you some pretty good ideas there too. It was freezing out haggling. This morning he was talking about the Mann Act and Jack Johnson. It had something to do with taking the women across state lines illegally for immoral purposes. That's how it was worded. Let's take a look at the Mann Act right now. Okay? That's what they got Jack Johnson for. Let's talk about that. He was taking the women across state lines for prostitution. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Oh my goodness. Man, my bad. I'm gonna have it in one moment. There we go. There we go. Now, what was it like for Jack Johnson, the first black boxer to win a world heavyweight title, when he was convicted under the Mann Act in 1913? Hopefully I find my guy in here. Give me for a moment. No. Okay, we're talking about Jack Johnson and the Mann Act. Okay, yeah. What was he convicted of? Now, Jack Johnson, the first black American heavyweight champion, was unjustly convicted in 1913 for transporting a white woman across state lines. He was found guilty under the Mann Act, a law intended to stop human trafficking, not consensual relationships. The case is considered a woeful miscarriage of justice. Now, Johnson left the United States for 7 years, but eventually he returned and served 10 months at Leavenworth Prison. Now, while incarcerated, Johnson mailed a letter to then President Woodrow Wilson applying for a pardon. And this was like in the 19-teens or something, before 1920, right? And guess when he got his pardon? 2018. Yo, here it is right here. He sent the letter to then President Woodrow Wilson applying for a pardon. This was like in the 20s. He was convicted in 1913. Left. This was like in the 20s because he left for 7 years. 98 years later, President Donald Trump responded to Johnson's request, granting him a full and unconditional pardon. during a ceremony in the Oval Office. 2018, he finally got his pardon. Right? Among those in attendance were former heavyweight champions Deontay Wilder and Lennox Lewis, actor Sylvester Stallone, WBC President Mauricio Suleiman, and Johnson's great-great-niece, Linda Haywood. Okay? It took 105 years, but at long last, Jack Johnson finally received justice and vindication. This was just the third posthumous pardon in United States history. Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's what they convicted Jack Johnson of, the Mann Act. Now let's look a little bit deeper into the Mann Act. 105 years to get his pardon, but he got it. He only served 10 months in prison, though. He went abroad for 7 years. Wow, he should have just stayed and did the 10 months in the first place. Okay. Now, the Mann Act originally was the White Slave Traffic Act of 1910. It's a federal law that criminalizes the interstate or foreign transportation of any person for the purpose of prostitution, debauchery, or any other immoral purpose. While initially created to combat forced prostitution and human trafficking during the early 20th century, white slavery panicked. Its broad wording led to its use against consensual sexual activity, interracial relationships, and as a tool for political and racial persecution, notably against boxer Jack Johnson. The law has since been amended to be gender neutral and specifically criminalize sexual activity, while also including provisions for the sexual exploitation of minors. Now, the original purpose and context. White slavery craze of the early 20th century, a period of moral panic over rapid societal changes like industrialization and immigration. Combating prostitution. The law was intended to stop the transportation of women and girls for prostitution and other forms of sexual exploitation. Interstate commerce. Congress used its power to regulate interstate commerce to pass the law. Misuse and persecution. Consensual activity. The broad language of immoral purpose allowed courts to apply the act to consensual sexual relationships and even non-commercial romantic liaisons, racist and political motivations. The act was notably used to persecute Jack Johnson, the first black world heavyweight champion, for his relationships with white women, highlighting its racial undertones and use as a tool for political persecution. Modern amendments. Gender neutrality. Amendments have broadened the act to include all individuals, not just women and girls. Sexual activity definition. The vague immoral purpose was replaced with a more specific definition of any sexual activity for which any person can be charged with a criminal offense. Protection for minors. Specific provisions were added in 1978 and 1994 to address and provide enhanced penalties for the sexual exploitation of minors. Okay, yeah, that's the Mann Act. And now, Picayune Chic and what's his name? Dana White is trying to attack the Ali Act. So what is the Ali Act? What exactly is that? We got 15 minutes. Let's let's what's up, Bernard Cole? How are you today? Yeah, we finished the Hitman. We looking at a few different things now. Yeah, they're attacking the Ali Act. They trying to that'll be bad for the fighters if they get to do what they're attempting to do. You know, yeah, that would be very bad for the fighters. But what is it? We got 15 minutes. What is it? Now, the Ali Act, Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act, that's the official name of it, is a federal law enacted in 2000 to protect professional boxers by establishing standards for contracts, promoting financial transparency, and preventing conflicts of interest and exploitative practices by promoters and managers. So why do they want to change that? That's just, make you think something negative right there, because it says right in the act. It's preventing conflicts of interest and exploitative practices by promoters and managers. So what they want to start practicing exploitative practices promoters and managers do? Because that's what the act does. It prevents that. It requires financial disclosures, limits contracts to 1 year, separates managerial and promotional roles, and mandates that sanctioning bodies make their rating criteria and bylaws public. The act aims to increase fairness, integrity, and public oversight within the sport of professional boxing. Key protections and requirements of the Ali Act. Financial disclosure. Okay. Promoters and managers must disclose their compensation and earnings related to a fighter to the boxer and the state athletic commission. Okay. Promoters and managers must disclose their compensation and earnings as related to a fighter to the boxer and to the state athletic commission. Contractual protections. The act establishes minimum standards for boxing contracts and limits fighter contracts to 1 year. It prohibits promoters from acting as managers for the same boxer. Yeah, that's one thing that Dana White and trying to erase. They definitely trying to erase that out of it. So why would they be wanting to change it? It's definitely not going to be good for the fighter, Now, as far as sanctioning bodies, sanctioning organizations must file their bylaws and rating criteria with the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, or publish them online. Conflict of interest prevention. Now, the act separates the roles of promoters, managers, and sanctioning bodies to prevent them from having financial interest in each other's operations. Public oversight. It requires increased financial disclosures to state athletic commissions to aid their oversight of the sport. Private right of action. Boxers can sue for economic damages if they are a victim of a violation of the act. Purpose and impact. The Ali Act was a significant piece of legislation designed to combat the widespread abuse, exploitation, and anti-competitive practices that were prevalent in professional boxing. By bringing federal level oversight, financial transparency, and clear rules, the act aimed to re-legitimize the sport and place the interests of boxers at the forefront. So Dana White and them, they trying to put the interests of the boxers at the back, take it away from the forefront. The act was designed to place the interests of boxers at the forefront. So for the mere fact that they trying to change to show you what they trying to do, trying to screw the fighters over. Plain and simple. Yeah. That's exactly what they're trying to do. Yep, the Ali Act, enacted May 26, 2000 by the 106th Congress to protect the rights and welfare of boxers. So the mere fact this act was designed to protect the rights and welfare of boxers, the mere fact they're trying to change it, just telling you, they don't have the rights and the welfare of boxers in mind. The fact that they're trying to change it. Are they trying to strengthen it? No. They're trying to weaken it. They're going to try to weaken it. Yep. So this telling you right there that they don't have the welfare of the boxers in mind. So hopefully they won't get away with what they're trying to do. That's why Sean Zittel was trying to press Dana White on it in that interview at one of the weigh-in or one of the press conferences. I think it might have been the weigh-in. One of the final things last week leading up to the fight, and Dana White, call me for a personal interview. You trying to be an asshole here? And all that kind of dumb shit Dana White was talking. Already bad for boxing. Coming in, trying to change stuff. Dana White coming in the door trying to change stuff around in boxing, man. So he should have stayed in. Look at the UFC. Who getting all the money? Dana White. Not the fighters. Dana's getting it. Right? Trying to do the same nonsense in boxing. First Turkey Ali Sheik, now Dana White. What's next? The McMahon family. The WWE had a hand in that fight, Saturday too. I think they had some kind of financial backing involved in it. Yep, the WWE. Ain't that the McMahon family? I think that the McMahon family run the WWE. I believe they do. Whoever runs it, they had some kind of financial backing involved in this fight Saturday. So now they getting their hand in boxing. And boxing already similar to the WWE, some of these judges' cards. Pretty soon it's just going to be entertainment. You know, you ain't going to be able to trust the fights. It's going to be the WWE. Already very similar. 115, 113. Come on, man. Thomas Hill. What's happening, Thomas Hill? We'll get ready to get up. What's up, Technique? Yeah, it's finished. We were just talking about that Ali Act a little bit. Right there, you know. Damn. Oh, yeah, we was just talking about that Ali Act a little bit. That's all. Right there. And how they trying to change it. And like I was saying, the act was it was put into effect for the rights and welfare of the boxers. So the fact they trying to change it, so they don't have that in mind. They don't have the rights and the welfare of the boxers in mind. They're not trying to strengthen it. And then the WWE getting involved in boxing. So, wow. Already can't trust these judges. You know the WWE is fake. It's just entertainment. I don't think Dana White going to be good for the sport. At all. Nope. But we'll see. I just, you know. The Ali Act is okay. They just need to enforce it and strengthen it. Need more oversight. Need a commissioner's office over boxing, like every other major sport has. Boxing, the rules change from state to state. You can do this in this state, can't do that in that state. Like I said the other day, football, a touchdown is 6 points, no matter where you play it. Anywhere they just played in Brazil a couple weeks ago. Same rules if you play in Baltimore, right? But not boxing. It varies from place to place. That helps it to be corrupt, right? When it varies like that. But we'll see. At least if you already had Netflix, you didn't have to pay nothing, So that was kind of good. Because, man, could you imagine that? Like a PBC pay-per-view, that would have been $99.99 or $108.99 or something, I already had Netflix, so I was good. What about the people that didn't have Netflix? Would they have to subscribe to it real quick or something? If I hadn't had, I would have subscribed to it and then just dropped it. I don't know. But I appreciate everybody for coming through today. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Yeah, Thursday we're going to be talking about France, boxing in France, and the life and career of Tyson Fury. Friday. I think tomorrow we're going to talk some more about a little about Marvin Hagler, what BVO was talking about, how he was frozen out, and get some people up on the link and talk about this Ali Act situation tomorrow. I would like to discuss that with the people. Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah. We might get to some more link time early because that went well Monday. I think I'm going to take like I used to do, a day every week and do a panel show once a week again, Yeah, that was a very good show Monday. Yesterday, when we discussed the fight for the entire show. Yeah. So I think I'm going to start doing that once a week again. Yeah, that was fun. But okay, we're going to get ready to go. Just Do is next. I put the link back in, but yeah, it's time to go now. But I appreciate everybody that came through today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Just remembering the Hitman, Ricky Hatton. Passed away, I think, Sunday. I think a neighbor, I still don't know what he passed away from. All I got to find was a neighbor found him, right? And dead. And the police said no foul play is suspected, but I don't know anybody know what happened, what he died from? I couldn't find out. That's all I could find out. When the neighbor found him, the police say no foul play involved. They don't suspect any foul play involved, right? And he wasn't expecting to die because the man was training for a fight. He was going to fight in December of this year. So you can't be sick on your deathbed if you're training to get into training for a boxing match, right? So it had to have been something sudden. Yeah. He was training to fight some guy December 2nd. Mm-hmm. Coming back, 46. Hitman said, man, he did it at 48, and he 2 years younger, so the Hitman was coming back. Had the fight signed and everything. It was going to be in United Arab Emirates. And the guy he was fighting was the promoter. He was from that part of the world. I think he was like the same from like like Turkey Ali Sheikh background. Looking at his name was something, Al something. He was the promoter of the fight, actually. Yeah, the guy. He was like 8-4 with 4 knockouts, something like that. Yeah. He had got knocked out by some guy journeyman in the first round in his last fight. Yeah. That's who Ricky was going to fight. But won't happen now. But rest in peace to Ricky Hitman Hatton. Appreciate everybody. Everybody have a great afternoon.